Mona, can you confirm, are you seeing the
Yeah,
slide now?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
good. So that's the AI generated image of some cute person doing telehealth in her office. Oh, no, I'm not. There we go. All right, so everybody get your worksheets out. This is the link that Mona put in the chat to get to that Google worksheet that I created for you. And I would like you to start with question 1, clarify your vision. I would like you to write down, and if you are able to write down, certainly if you're driving, don't write anything down, but write down, why do you want to build a telehealth practice? What is it that made you show up today? What is it that made you comment to my Facebook post and raise your hand to say, I'm interested in that? What's the vision that you have? And then also, what are the past or current pain points that you're experiencing in your current traditional or telehealth practice? And if you want to put those in the chat, go ahead and put those in the chat. But this is kind of more for your own reference. I will share with you what my points were in just a minute. And we already did this one. Most of you were 2, but a bunch of you were number 1. So welcome to all of you. About me. So my name is Marissa Caudill. I'm double board certified in adult and child psychiatry. I finished my training at UCLA in 2013. And straight from the get-go, I started a private practice, as many people do here in Los Angeles. It's pretty easy to do. You hang a shingle and you're full with patients pretty quickly. So that's a blessing, right? But I had some mindset challenges, and it was 2013. There wasn't as much help and technology to support me as there is now. So I did a few things wrong. I spent a ton of money on rent. I spent a ton of money on an EMR that I really didn't need all the features of. And I did a lot of things myself that I could have hired someone else to do. But the story I was telling myself was, well, but I'm only a part-time practitioner and no one would really want to work for just like 4 or 5 hours a week for me. So I didn't even try to hire someone else. And I also had this, if I can do it, then I should mentality. And that's part of my own upbringing, but I think it's actually pretty common in physicians. Many of the physicians I know were often firstborn children. Again, as a child psychiatrist, I'm thinking about our inner psychology, right? Like we had often a habit in childhood of taking over tasks and doing it ourselves and getting praise for that, which is great. And it helped us to become successful physicians, make it through med school, all of that stuff. But in our practice later, it comes at the cost of having this perfectionist martyrdom attitude, which is like, I have to do it myself because no one else can do it as well as I can, or I'll just do it myself because it's easy and fast and I can do that in 2 minutes. I still have this problem, but I'm working on it. But what ended up happening in my private practice, although I was very successful, my patients loved me, I wasn't doing too many hours a week clinically, but I was really tired of all the extra stuff, all of the calls because they forgot something, all the, oh, but could you see me on a Saturday? All of these like boundary pushing questions, all of the prior authorizations. I was doing all my own scheduling, answering my own phones, and it was tedious. So when I had my second child in 2016, I was kind of thinking maybe it would be better to have a full-time 8 to 5 gig where I just work when I work. And I went to work at Kaiser Permanente for 4 years and 4 months. You can see that time frame overlaps with the pandemic. Fun times. I left after 4 years and 4 months, leaving 1,800 patients who thought that I was their doctor. It was a great learning experience. I don't regret it, but it did also teach me that I can never go back to that anymore because I need to be able to practice medicine on my terms, my way. It wasn't worth the trade-off. Like, yeah, I didn't have to do any of the phone calls or the scheduling, but I had no control, or not nearly as much as I wanted to have. And so after a little break and kind of recovering from my burnout, I began branding myself as the parent doctor because I'm really passionate about helping parents to feel more empowered in order to reverse the rising rates of depression and anxiety in kids and adolescents. So I do coaching, speaking, I have a podcast, I'm on social media, and I started using a software called Go High Level, which is the basis of SuperDoc Tech. And I started a private practice again last year, and it's a telepsychiatry micro practice, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you all about. Dr. Mona Sodi is an obesity and internal medicine specialist. She has a Harvard training in culinary coaching, and she has a hybrid private practice where she does both in-person care and telehealth. She also is direct pay, and she was a 1099 employee until she started SuperDoc Tech with me. And we are the co-founders of this amazing company. And we're really excited to be able to work with people like all of you. So question one, you already did, right? Why do you want to telehealth practice? What are your current, past, and anticipated pain points? I told you about some of mine. Mine were, it's great to be on your own, to have your own private practice, but you worry, am I going to be able to fill my spots and make money? And then you worry, or once you do, you feel the pain of managing it all yourself. And especially for those of us who are moms who may not want to have a 30, 40 hour a week private practice, may want to keep it more contained, then you have this mindset of, yeah, but it's not really worth it. How would I find someone to help me for just a few hours a week? So learn from my mistakes. As I said, I had this perfectionist martyr syndrome where I was answering my own phone and responding to my own voicemails, scheduling all my own appointments. That was pushing my boundaries, even though I had mentoring about keeping my clinic hours to a certain fixed set of hours. I was always bending those rules for myself. I was manually processing the payments, the super bills, the checks, the receipts, and typing each note into my EMR. And I was doing prior authorizations on my own, which took forever and was really frustrating. And I wasn't taking payment up front. I was billing people, and I was paying rent and spending a lot of money on an EMR, about $26,000 a year in total for that. I wasn't screening my patients well because, again, I had this scarcity mindset. I thought, well, I have to take whoever comes because I need to earn money. So the lessons that I've learned are that I'm not for everyone, and that's totally okay. I am perfect and valued by some great people, and that is enough. As a micro practice owner, I do not need to have 300, 3,000 patients. I only need a few patients who want to work with me. And because of that, I can limit my responses to patient requests to only being dealt with during appointments, and they still can value me. So I can give people 100% of me in an appointment, and that's enough. And that therefore allows me to maintain my calendar boundaries more firmly. I now take payment upfront, and I keep a credit card on file for every patient. So if there's extra work, like say they ask me as a child psychiatrist, sometimes they want me to attend a school meeting and advocate for their child with the teachers and folks at the school, I'll do that, but they'll pay me for my time and I build their credit card on file. But to book an appointment with me, they have to put their credit card information in first, and I'll give you that. I'll show you how to do that next. That's through SuperDoc Tech. I am crystal clear now about my cancellation policies before a patient begins working with me, and I get signatures on all of those policies, and I don't accept any patients until they've been screened. So I take that business principle that you may have heard of, that's be slow to hire and quick to fire, and I apply that to my practice, and it's made all the difference. Okay, so a disclaimer here. This is just how I do my practice. Your ideal setup might differ drastically. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a HIPAA compliance expert, I'm not an insurance expert. So you should do your own research, and you obviously are responsible for your own business setup and your own business practices. All right. So let's brainstorm a little bit. I would like you all to think about what specialty niche are you considering for your telehealth practice? Here are some ideas that Mona and I came up with just brainstorming for like 2 minutes. If you have any ideas that you want to share, go ahead and put them in the chat. But for pediatrics, I know people who are successful doing sleep training for both infants, toddlers, and young kids, weight management, diabetes care, dermatology, eczema, skincare. For hormonal health, lots of people are doing menopause and perimenopause. That's huge right now. Mona's doing GLP-1 medications, and obesity management is obviously huge right now. Hormone replacement, both for men and women, is something that can translate very well to telehealth. Wellness, metabolic health, disease prevention, disease management, stress management, psychiatry, great. But I would say even within psychiatry, Sammy, I would challenge you to niche down even more. Like, so for example, I'm a child psychiatrist, but I'll show you in a moment. I really advertise myself as a specialist in ADHD plus or minus anxiety. So kids who have ADHD, kids who have anxiety, kids who have both. That's my niche. Now, you don't have to do that. But again, for telehealth, for a practice like mine, it's just 8 hours a week. I don't want to have people in my practice who are in acute need of long-term intensive care. So if someone has intense eating disorder or severe depression or severe psychosis, they're not appropriate for my practice. And you can decide what's most of interest to you I have another colleague who really is passionate about working with kids who have suicidality, and that's wonderful. And there's such a need, obviously. So I'm not saying you can't do something intense, but you just have to be clear on what it is. And it's better to niche down than to be a generalist. And we'll talk about why that is in a minute. But there's also specialized care. Someone commented in a Facebook group when I posted this, and she is an oncologist, actually. And I thought this was brilliant and an example of how our insurance-based big systems healthcare does a great job at many things. Like if you need your gallbladder out or you need a liver transplant, like that's where you're going to go, obviously. But there are many things that we as humans want that we don't get satisfied fully under insurance-based care. So what she does as an oncologist is she offers long appointments with people who've been newly diagnosed with cancer to go over all of their questions, review all the data, talk about the choices that they have to make. And that's so needed, right? Because oncologists who are billing insurance, they probably want to do that, but they don't have time. And for people who are working in jobs like I was at Kaiser, like if you have a patient every hour that you're telling, sorry, you have cancer, like that's exhausting, but you also just don't have time to do the things that you might really enjoy doing, like talking about end of life planning, discussing, you know, all of those things that go along with a cancer diagnosis that are scary, but serious and important. And so she does that as her telehealth private practice, which I think is beautiful. So there are many things you can do: Suboxone, pain management, addiction, many, many things. All right, we'll move on. Well, let's talk about technology, because that's kind of why you guys showed up today. I think you want to know, is it really too good to be true what I advertised? And I promise it's not. So here's what I use. You don't have to use this exact system, but just to give you an idea, I do my video visits, my telehealth using Zoom. Zoom can be, you can get a BAA, stands for a Business Associates Agreement. And that basically means you have a HIPAA compliant platform on your Zoom account. Now you are responsible as the user to be sure that your account and the password are secure, because obviously, you know, if you run a big practice and you give everyone your Zoom account password, then you're in danger of violating HIPAA if not everybody who has access to that is HIPAA trained. But the technology itself is encrypted in whatever ways it needs to be for HIPAA. Their AI summary is also stored in a HIPAA compliant way. So I have that on for this meeting. If you've never used it, it's pretty awesome. They're actually coming out with a new healthcare AI note taker technology as well that I'm on the beta testing list for, but right now I just use their generic one. Way I have it set up is each person gets their own unique visit. It's not a personal meeting room. In other words, for my Zoom, everybody gets their own unique meeting ID that's generated within SuperDoc Tech when they book a calendar appointment. And it's set up to automatically record it and to do the AI note taking, and it records it to the cloud. My VA then takes that AI note, copies and pastes it into my HIPAA compliant Google Doc for the patient. And after the visit, I edit it and sign it and finalize it. The key to my sanity, though, is SuperDoc Tech. It's the practice management piece. Why? Well, because SuperDoc Tech does the scheduling. I don't touch the schedule. My VA doesn't touch the schedule. We both just have automations that tell people, go to the calendar and schedule yourself. And I'll show you all of this in a minute. The billing happens upfront. They put in their credit card information and they get billed. They can cancel. I have it set up to 48 hours before the appointment and get their money back. They can reschedule up to 24 hours before the appointment and not be billed again. But if it's less than 24 hours before the appointment, they're going to get billed. And that's clearly outlined in my terms and conditions. That's the policy that they know from the beginning. And so my no-show rate is very, very low. Now, it also helps me automate communication, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. Automations are key, and they're fully customizable, and they're really limitless. So you can think about, what would your ideal practice look like? You know, maybe you see people like I do very frequently as a psychiatrist. You know, we see people for therapy and meds weekly or monthly. Victoria, could you mute yourself?
Yeah.
Mona, can you mute Victoria?
Oh, so sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No problem.
1 second.
And then I use for my note-taking Google Workspace, like I said, so just a Google account, but it's with my domain, so it's a business account. And that also has a BAA. And then I have an e-prescribing tool. I use MD Toolbox. There's many of these. They're all about $30 a month. Some are maybe $600 a year if you're also doing controlled substances, but not very expensive. All right. So here's where I'm going to give you some tough love. So I want you to go. Oh, we're not there yet. Okay, this is a little bit out of line. We'll get there though. I don't mean this in a mean way, but I'm going to teach you all something really valuable today. It took me a long time to learn, and that is that you are absolutely worth your time and your money. The money you earn, you're worth it. So think about people who get paid less than you get paid, not as less valuable than you, but as able to legitimately do the thing that they are best at in order to free you up to do the thing that you are best at. So in a minute, we're going to do this thing called a buyback calculator. And that is from Dan Martell's book called Buy Back Your Time. This book, I read it recently and I was like, oh my gosh, it just blew my mind, because he basically breaks it down for you. If you take your hourly rate, and he says divided by 4, anyone you could pay less than 25% of your hourly rate to do something that you don't love doing, you should be doing that. You should be paying someone else to do that thing. So for me, that includes all my email, personal and professional, gets processed by my VA. And then all of these things that I didn't used to like to do in my private practice gets processed by my VA. Now, VAs might have existed in 2013 when I started private practice, but I didn't know about them. They certainly were not as easy to come by as they are now. The VA I hired through HelloRach. I heard about this from Mona. She has a HelloRach VA as well. My VA is a pharmacist in the Philippines. Her name is Stephanie. She's fabulous. She's worked in healthcare for years, and she's amazing. She just catches on really fast to things. She has learned the systems and automations of SuperDoc Tech very quickly. She's learned how to manage my email very quickly. I'm extremely happy. I pay her a whopping $9.50 an hour. So you too can have a VA. This is a public company. Well, I don't know if it's a public company, but you can just go to hellorach.com and get your own VA. It took me like a week to get set up with one. And it's not just HelloRach. There are many companies out there. Do a Google search for virtual assistants. How many of you have a virtual assistant? Put it in the chat. Anybody? Yay. Who has a VA? Maria Shaw has a VA. Congratulations, Maria.
I'm sure many people do.
I hope
you don't know, you don't know.
Because I am guessing if we think of our buyback time, 1/4 is $9.50. I'm guessing all of you make more than $40 an hour. Yes, is that true? I hope so. I hope there's no doctors making less than 40. Yeah. So and then you also need practice protection. You need business insurance, which is very cheap. That's like errors and omission insurance. You don't need someone falling in your office because it's telehealth, right? You do need malpractice insurance. You need clear office policies. I would hire a lawyer for that. And you need to document all your patient interactions thoroughly. Just because you're in private practice for yourself and you're the only one seeing your notes doesn't mean that you can slack off and not take good notes. All right. So what is the financial opportunity here? Let's just lay it out. So my practice is 8 hours a week. I charge $500 an hour. When I'm fully booked, I'm making $16,000 a month. I showed you my overhead. My monthly expenses are $1,029 a month, which means my net monthly profit can be $14,971 a month. It's over $173,000 a year. Now, am I consistently making that? No, of course, in any practice, there's up months and down months. Am I always only doing 8 hours a month? No, sometimes I take on more hours. Sometimes I do fewer. But in general, you can see that if you set a good rate, you can have a very lucrative part-time telehealth practice, right? Any questions about this? Any thoughts about it? You feel excited seeing these numbers? Have you done these back of the napkin calculations before for yourself?
I have a good question that I'm just going to call out. We're not going to do this for all the questions, but someone was saying it's $500 an hour typical. Yeah, you can.
It is here.
Practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't access the microphone. Oh. Wondering if this type of right is possible with family medicine docs. LOL.
Yes,
True.
it is.
License fees. Yes, I do have some medical license fees. That's a few $100s a year.
Here, let me ask her to unmute here.
So I think also, you're saying I can't charge that in North Carolina. That might be true, but keep in mind, there's what, 300 million people in America? And maybe your local rates for your practice are lower. You may also want to consider, though, underserved urban areas or wealthier areas where you could charge higher rates. You also want to consider that in part, being successful in this kind of a field requires standing out from the crowd. And you want to brand yourself, therefore, in some way and get a reputation for being a specialist in your field so that you get people who are interested in coming to you. Now, I'm in California, which is a huge state. That's a benefit for me, right? Because I can see people all throughout the state. I haven't pursued licensing in other states. Mona, you're licensed in what, 4 states? Yeah.
Yes.
Many people who do telehealth pursue licensure in many states. That's above and beyond the discussion that we're going to have today, but that's also a possibility if you need to cast a broader net because your local market can't support your rates. But I would like you to think about what is not starting your telehealth practice costing you, and really kind of consider, Mona and I were discussing this. I mean, how many of you know someone who is a physician who got laid off in the last year? I know 3 who got unexpectedly laid off in the last year. Do any of you know people who've gotten laid off or lost their jobs? It's obviously a scary thought, right? And it's one of the dangers of being employed and having all of your income coming from one source. But certainly, it's one of the advantages to starting a telehealth practice is to at least have begun the process for yourself of having an alternative income source and to have taken that leap, taken that dive to set up a system that you could expand if you needed to. All right. So I think also I wanted to emphasize, like, how many of you feel like technology, AI, all of this stuff is changing faster than you can keep up with it? Does anyone have that sensation? Yeah. I definitely had that too. When I hear things about AI, I remember just I feel like it was within the last 2 years that I first even heard about ChatGPT. Now I spend $20 a month for the pro version of ChatGPT. I think it's the best money I spend. I use it every day. Now, if you guys aren't using AI like that every day, I would encourage you to start using it daily and to see how it can help you from everything from meal planning to trip planning to how would I write this email? Like, it can do so many things. I actually have a custom GPT that I created for the parent. Thanks, Mona. You muted me. All right. Sorry, guys, we're like learning. What was I saying? Yeah, so I use AI all the time, and it's gotten easier as I use it more. Actually, these slides are from an app called Gamma.app. It's amazing. If any of you have to make slides for your work, go to Gamma.app. You just type in what it wants and it makes you all these pictures. It makes beautiful slides. It makes it so fast. But there are so many things that you can do now with AI. And I feel you when you feel like things are moving too fast, you're falling behind. And yet the truth is things have never moved faster, and they will never change this slowly again in our lifetime. Think about that. That's really a true statement, because technology is only going to get more and more rapid in its change. And so although things are moving faster than they ever have, they will never move slowly. So we can't stand on the sidelines and wait to jump in. There's never going to be a better time to jump in than right now. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Gamma app. All right. So let's keep going here. All right. So did you guys calculate your buyback rates? I didn't see that in the chat. Did people put it in there? Figure out what it would be. Even if you're in a currently employed position, like, think about what your buyback rate is. And then consider, in an employed position, you might be making more like $100 to $200 an hour because they're also paying for your insurance and malpractice and all of those kinds of things. But even then, you have to think about things like cleaners, lawnmowers, babysitters, people to drive your kids, personal training, meal prep. Like, are there things that you're currently doing that are making you tired in your personal life that you could outsource? That's just something to think about. And I would encourage you to read that Buy Back Your Time book if you want to think about it more. So the top of this pyramid well, actually, let's start at the bottom. The bottom is about setting firm boundaries. So if you're going to be starting a telehealth private practice, you want to really think ahead of time about what is the time I'm going to devote to this? Where is it going to fit in my calendar? And have clear policies with your patients from the beginning that protect your time and energy. That's going to earn you your patients' respect, and it's going to prevent you from burning out because you're going to be available to be fully present without any resentment to your patients when you're there, but you're also going to be able to keep at it for the long term. Automate scheduling. I can't emphasize this enough. This is win-win on both sides. I mean, think about your experience as a patient. Often with big healthcare systems, we set our appointments like 2-3 months in advance, sometimes even longer. Then the time comes for the appointment, you get the reminder and you're like, oh shoot, something else has come up, there's a conflict and you need to change it. And it's not easy in big healthcare systems, right? You have to call and you wait on hold and then you get someone and then they give you an appointment like 2 months later. So for my private practice, I knew I needed a better system, and SuperDocTech has made that possible. Basically, it's so easy. It's like a Calendly thing. You know how if you ever book for someone's Calendly link, you get a text and an email that says, here's your thing. If you need to reschedule, click here, and it just brings you back and you reschedule. That is my system. That's what my patients see. That's how they book their appointments. I never do anything. I never get a phone call from someone saying, oh, but can you squeeze me in here? Because what they see is what's available, and that's all that there is. Email management. This is honestly the best thing I've ever done for myself. This is the biggest value I've had when it comes to buying back my time, is training my VA to manage my email. So just imagine for yourself how it would feel to know that you never have to be the first one touching any email ever again, that every day you just spend 15 minutes looking at a summary of your email that a VA you trust and trained has created for you, and you tell them how to respond to things. And that's it. That's all you have to do with email. You can turn off the email apps on your phone if you want to. You can certainly turn off the notifications on them at least. And think about how much time would you get back if you weren't in your email. I'm guessing, how many of you are doing your own email right now? I'm guessing most of you, because most people are. And email is like, it was the bane of my existence. And it's just been so freeing to not have to do email. And then at the peak is, again, thinking constantly about how you can outsource the tasks that are below your hourly rate. All right, so here are the 5 ways that I rely on SuperDocTech. The first is professional web presence. SuperDocTech will create your branded telehealth website very quickly with minimal effort from you. And then it will give you a smart intake process. There's automated collection of patient information, form signing, completion, and medical history before they ever book with you. So you have everything you need by the time they get booked in your calendar for a first appointment. Then there's scheduling. Patients will self-book their appointments through your calendar. That eliminates all the back and forth emails that you might otherwise have. And they pay upfront, so you don't have to be chasing them down for payments. And it's easy to delegate. So within SuperDocTech, you can have as many people logging in as you want to your account, and they can manage it for you. And you can give them access to certain aspects and prohibit certain aspects. But basically, my VA can log on and she manages things for me every day. And I'll show you that in a minute. Mona, can you help to mute Angela? Thanks. So let's walk through the customer journey. When a patient wants to see me, they land on my website, and here I put KISS method. When you design your website, do you know the KISS method? Keep it simple, stupid. So basically, you want a website, you need to know that 75% of people view the web and everything they browse on their phones. So if you haven't ever looked at what your website looks like on a phone, you should. And you should ensure that above the fold, meaning the thing you see when you first land on that website on your phone screen, it needs to clearly state what is the problem that you solve. It needs to scream at your ideal patient customer that you are it for them. You want them to land on that page and say to themselves, finally, yes, this is it. I need this person to help me. And if it doesn't, then you need to rebrand. And you can do this very quickly using SuperDocTech. And then my patients self-schedule a discovery call. I have it set up that my discovery call is 15 minutes and it's free. So people can book a discovery call with me. I just have 1 hour a week. So I do up to 4 new discovery calls a week. You can set this up however you want. You may want to have paid meet and greets that are longer than 15 minutes or shorter. Then I have pre-screening. So SuperDocTech automatically sends an email explaining my practice structure to them, and it lets them self-select. If I'm not for them, I feed them into my coaching top of funnel. So as the parent doctor, I do parent coaching, and the top of my funnel there is a free monthly book club. So if they decide, oh no, actually, I don't want to work with Dr. Caudill, they can at least sign up for my book club and learn with me and join me every month for the free book club. And I also have a networking referral list that allows me to communicate with my colleagues and share patients with my colleagues and build a referral network there. After that discovery call, where I explain that I have limited availability, I take cash only, well, not cash, but I'm cash pay, not insurance based. I clarify my cancellation policies. I discuss what things I treat and what things I don't, that I don't provide emergency care. If they still want to work with me, then I invite them to apply. And what happens then is they get an email that looks like it comes from my VA, but it's totally automated. And that has my practice policies for them to sign, intake forms, a credit card form. And once they submit all of that back, they automatically get a link to my private booking page. And that is for new patients and existing patients. Not anyone can find that. So I have it set up that a person who just looked me up on Google is not going to be able to book into my calendar as a paid patient unless they've gotten screened by me. Then I complete the appointments 1 day a week. AI takes the notes. The VA uploads those AI notes into my Google Docs. I edit them. So it's that 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% of the work is done. I do the 20%. I sign the prescriptions that she's done for me, queued up in MD Toolbox. And then my system automatically sends review requests to my patients. So within Google SEO world, how many of you have spent money on a website design or paid someone to do SEO optimization for your practice? Anybody here? Mona, I know you did. So basically, it's a common thing. Like many doctors, when they're starting a private practice, especially, they get convinced that they need to spend thousands of dollars to design a great website and to have SEO optimized. It's really not true. The biggest thing that will drive people to your practice is your Google business profile reviews. So by having a system that automatically requests those reviews from every one of your patients, you're going to, without spending a dime on marketing, greatly increase your SEO and drive traffic to you. So over time, that's going to be more helpful. Now, I wanted to show this to you in red. The only things that I do in this process are the discovery call, which is up to 1 hour a week, the 8 hours a week that I'm available to patients for appointments, and the hour or so where I finalize notes and sign prescriptions. All of the things in red are handled by my automated systems and my virtual assistant. So let's go through this really quickly. How far are we on time? Oh, we're doing good. Okay. Let me know if you can hear this.
Creating a website on SuperDoc Tech is truly.
Yes? Yeah, you can hear that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, but I might actually just talk through it to make it a little quicker because this video is like 12 minutes long. So just to show you, this is what you would see when you log into your SuperDoc Tech account for the first time. In the top left, you see your account name and your location, and then you're going to see all these things like Launchpad, etc. I'm going to show you how you create a website. So you go to Sites, you go to Websites, and then you click New Website, and you click Template. And we have built in a lot of templates. For psychiatry, I typed in psych, and I got the template that I used for my page. And this is what my page looks like. You can go, if you want, after this or now, to drmarissacaudill.com. You can also go to marissacaudill.com or marissacaudill.md.com. They're all going to take you to the same place. But basically, you'll see that I have at the top of the fold what problems I solve, ADHD and anxiety. And I have an action button, which is contact me today. When people click that, it takes them to the contact page. And at the top of the contact page, there is a button to book a discovery call. So this is book a free 15-minute call here. If you scroll down, you can also submit a inquiry. You can put in your name, email, phone number, and a question. Either way, when you do either of those actions, your information is going to make you a new contact within my SuperDoc Tech account. And all new contacts end up in what is called an opportunity pipeline. I'll show that to you. I'll show that to you in a moment. But basically, when someone books an appointment in that 15-minute discovery call calendar, this is an automation, a very simple automation. But it's basically, if this happens, do this. So if someone books an appointment, the system is going to send them an email. This is a template I've created that I would share with all of you. The email looks like it's coming from my assistant. Show it to you in a second. It says, "Hi there, thanks for booking a discovery call with me. I'm really looking forward to connecting and learning more about how I might support you and your family. Before we meet, I want to make sure you have a clear understanding of how my practice works." So essentially, I'm trying to screen here. Although it says very clearly on my website that I don't take insurance and that I work with kids and that the parents of the kids have to be involved. There are some people who book a discovery call because, I don't know, some other reason. They want to know what insurance I take. They just don't read it, right? And so I want to give them another chance to opt out. And at the end of this is where I give them the option to opt into my free top of funnel for the parent doctor. And I give them also a referral list. When they get that email, they either keep their appointment, great, or they go back to the automated message that they got after booking the appointment and they cancel it. Now, I don't allow people to do same day appointments. So all of these are booked at least a day in advance, and they have time, therefore, to reschedule or work it out. The opportunity pipeline is where I keep track of all new leads. So one of the wonderful things about SuperDoc Tech is that all roads lead to one place, and you just need one logon to see everything. So this is where I see any leads that come in through social media inquiries, any leads that come in through Google Business Profile inquiries, any leads that come in through people who call and interact with my AI receptionist, any leads that come in through email, any leads that come in through the contact me page. All of this ends up coming here. And they all end up in my pipeline called prospective patients in this expressed interest new lead category. My VA has been trained every day to come in here and check what's going on. And if there's someone here who needs to be invited to schedule a discovery call, she has an automated way to send them an email that basically sends them to that same website I just showed you, where they click the button to schedule the discovery call. Once they schedule a discovery call, then the system will, tag them as having that scheduled. There we go. And once I say, okay, yes, this person is good for my practice, the system automatically sends them this invitation email. And I've created this intentionally, even though it's an automation, as coming from my virtual assistant. She's my administrative assistant in the practice. I want from the get-go patients to only receive emails from an admin. I don't want anyone in my practice, I learned this the hard way, but to think that they can just have an email exchange with me back and forth between appointments, because I know that that exhausts me and I find it frustrating. And I feel resentful that people aren't paying for appointments. They just want me to take care of them in between appointments. So I make it very clear from the beginning that communication is only going to come from my assistant. And on my Gmail email, I actually have all the time, 24/7, a vacation autoresponder on that basically does the same thing. It says, this email is processed daily, but Dr. Caudill only looks at it on the day she's in clinic. If you would like to schedule a new appointment, you can go here. And if you have an emergency, you should call 911, go to the ER. So I make it very clear that I'm not available for emergency care. This email goes out and it tells them they're going to get 3 automated emails. These include the office policies and procedures. This is essentially within SuperDoc Tech a replacement for DocuSign. So if you have right now any documents that you are using as hard copies or that you're emailing as PDFs to your patients, SuperDoc Tech removes that step and makes it always automated. And I'll show you what happens to those documents when the patients submit them. Like it's not keeping up with me here. Sorry guys, I think my video is having some trouble
So
loading.
I was just typing in the chat, this type of email template is unlimited in terms of what you can do with it. So I use this email template for my weekly newsletter. So I just have a prototype that I built out with my colors, my logo, and then it serves as a weekly newsletter. So the template function is very valuable for SuperDoc Tech. Okay, I'll let you pick it up.
It seems like it's resumed. Sorry, it was a little stuck there for a minute. But basically, when they go from they scheduled a discovery call to they got invited to apply, and then once they complete those forms, they'll move over. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you here that at any point in this Gantt chart, you can double click on one of those patients that you see and add a note, or your VA can add a note. So in this case, my VA could say, send an email with a link to book a discovery call, so that if I come in here and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Why has this person been sitting in the step 2 for a week? I can look and see, oh, look, Stephanie sent an email at this time on this date, and we can then follow up, or we can just remove them, whatever we want to do. So you can easily track every person who raises their hand and expresses interest. You'll never miss another lead, and you can follow up with them, and you can automate the follow-up as well. It really makes managing your practice so much easier than trying to do it on your own. So this is what it looks like within the contact tab. When someone completes a form, it comes over here into the documents. Here you would see that this got sent, but it hasn't yet been received. When you clicked received, you'll see all the incoming forms that have been completed. So this is how I have another automation that takes people from the phase where they got those forms sent to them to being able to schedule in my calendar because they've submitted them and we have all the information that we need. This is the secret calendar where people can book their follow-up visit or their initial appointment. And this automatically gets sent to them once they've completed those initial forms. So that's pretty much it. This is showing you that they pay ahead of time before their appointments. And all of that is customizable. So if you want people, I'll pause it here to talk about this for a minute. I have my calendar that people can book up to 60 days out because I don't know where I'll be like 3 months in advance, right? You can set it longer if you want to, or shorter if you want to. I have it that people have to book at least 48 hours in advance because I don't want every day to have to be opening my calendar to see like who booked overnight. You know, I don't like surprises. But if you were open to that and you just want the fullest practice you can have, you could leave it that they can book same day if you want that kind of flexibility. So you can set all of those things up within your calendar settings in SuperDoc Tech. And when you come in, you'll see all of your patient appointments here. This syncs with your Google Calendar. I think those are the main things that I wanted to show. I wanted to show, yeah, that's it for that. Any questions from you guys about these little features?
Yeah, I had a question about, are there templates available so that we can, or do we need to create our own? And I told, I don't know if it's Rami or Romy, that more to come on this, on the getting you guys set up to do this yourself.
So how many of you have similar systems, or how many of you are doing any of that kind of stuff still on your own manually like I was? Does it sound good to you? Hello, Bueller, hello. Basically, it's amazing because, yeah, it's exhausting otherwise to feel like you're chasing your patients down. And these are the things that just slowly, it's like a million paper cuts, right? Like you may love your practice, you may love the autonomy that you have, but the headaches and even just like being able to train my VA as a pharmacist to do the PAs, she does a great job. And like, oh my gosh, if I never have to do another VA or PA, sorry, prior auth, I'll be so happy. Like, so it's so great to be able to offload some of that stuff. It's so great to have the automations. It's so great also to remove, I remember before when I was using like, you know, this, I literally had kind of, what did those things called? Not a Rolodex. What were those paper calendars called? They were like Filofax. Is that what it was? So I literally had something like that.
So.
Private practice in like 2013 to 2018 because I tried to use my phone back then, but I still had a paper calendar too. And I would mess up. I don't know if I have ADHD or what, but I would like not get the thing that I put in my paper on the phone. And I had babies at home. I was just like not, anyway, you would have times when patients would be like, no, you told me to come at 2. And I was double booked. And I was like, oh my gosh, right. That will never happen to me again, because there's no way I can get double booked. And there's no way that a patient can say, well, you told me this, because I have everything recorded. I know what's been sent to them. There's like no gray area anymore. So it's really, really awesome. So here's the thing. This system works amazing, but you can build it and nobody's going to come. You know that movie, like if you build it, they will come. What was it called? Field of Dreams. That's a lie. Like you have to also do the work to create a steady influx of patients for yourself. And that's where branding yourself, putting yourself out there is really very important. People have to know that you exist. You have to put yourself out there. You have to go as a guest on podcasts. You have to do educational events. You have to give people value. You have to do webinars. You have to be present on social media. You don't have to do all those things, but you have to do at least some of them, because unlike in an employed setting where the job of the employer is to fill your calendar, in private practice, it's your job to fill your calendar. You have to let people know that you exist, and you have to let the right people know that you exist, and you have to believe in your heart that they are out there, because they are. So you want to serve a specific customer, a specific problem, and do it really, really well, and do what you love the most. That's what's going to lead to a winning practice. Because if you're doing something that you don't really like, it will come through. But if you're doing something that you're passionate about, people will be lining up to see you. All right. So marketing without advertising. Like I said, you need to network regularly. You want to email your professional network. So what SuperDocTech does really, really well is it functions as a CRM. That stands for a customer relationship management tool. This is essentially like email on steroids. So you can have as many contacts as you want within your SuperDocTech account, and you can tag them in infinite ways. So you can have tags for patients, for certain subsets of patients, for parents, for community members, for teachers, for professional network people, and you can separately send emails out to all of those people. So I regularly email my professional network, and it's constantly growing, and I keep them thinking about me and knowing what I offer by sending those emails regularly. I use the app within SuperDocTech when I go to events to scan people's business cards, and that automatically imports their contact information and makes them a contact within SuperDocTech for my account, which is great, saves a ton of time. And I also cross promote. So I let my clinical practice feed my coaching business and vice versa. If I'm coaching someone and they're in California and they need some care for themselves or their kid, then I let them know I could care for them. So you really want to always be looking out for how you can market yourself. All right, so here is our invitation to you. You guys have hung in there, we're almost done, but we wanted to invite all of you to join us at SuperDocTech to be able to utilize these systems to build the telehealth private practice of your dreams. And you can go to superdoctech.com/pricing to join us. Our routine offer is $4.99 a month or $49.90 a year. So if you sign up for the annual plan, you automatically get 2 months free, which is pretty great. This is a fully enabled HIPAA compliant system. And we didn't even get into most of the features. Honestly, we're just kind of focusing on the few things that you would use for a telehealth practice. As I said, if you're currently in an employed position and thinking about branching out to give this or to build, kind of another income stream or another way for you to be practicing medicine, I love that. And I think it's a wonderful idea and you should absolutely do it. But basically, you're going to want to start at this rung and then slowly add to it. SuperDocTech can do so many more things than just this. Someone asked the question, like, what about EMRs that already have these things built in, like calendaring and stuff like that? Yes, there are EMRs that have calendaring and reminders built in. They do not have CRM built in. They do not have courses built in. They do not have social media scheduling built in. And they don't have the ease of this one inbox that SuperDocTech has. So this doesn't replace an EMR, but is filling all of the gaps for someone who really wants to market themselves in a unique way in a private practice that an EMR can't do. And especially for those of you in psychiatry, I would argue there's really not much advantage to having an EMR. Like I said, I don't have one. I just use Google Docs and I use free assessment tools. And for me, it works perfectly well. So our basic deal, as I said, is $4.99 a month or $49.90 a year. The bonus we are offering all of you, which expires at midnight on April 15th, is that you will get a fully loaded account with all of our telehealth SuperDoc templates. So the person who was asking about these templates, all of you who join us before April 15th at midnight are going to get all of the templates. So if you remember this slide I showed you where there were red things that get automated and the black things that I do, it was this slide. All of these things, the templates for them are going to be installed in your account with the telehealth SuperDoc templates if you join before midnight on the 15th. In addition, you're going to get a 1-hour one-to-one call with me or Mona to walk you through how to customize those templates, because none of you know how to use SuperDocTech, which is based on the high-level platform yet. You're going to need a bit of hand-holding, and we are going to support you 100% to get this up and running. As we said, we are you. We were where you are not long ago, and we 100% wish we had known about this type of software then so that we could have gotten started faster and grown more quickly and had the mentorship and guidance of people like us who've done it before who can help. And then you're also going to get your first month free. So if you sign up again before midnight on the 15th, you're going to get no billing for the first 30 days. It's essentially a risk-free trial of our software. And as if that weren't enough, I was talking to Mona before this and realized that I basically have created a VA training course. I have all these SOPs that I've used to train my VAs, and I have a lot of thoughts about how you need to go about screening and hiring a VA. So I'm going to build a training course and give that to all of you who join before this deadline as well. And you'll get access to that as soon as your paid account becomes active. So who's in? Who's excited? Who has questions? We would love to have many of you join us.